Today we're diving into the powerful and, frankly, pretty amazing science that connects your mindset directly to your physical well-being.
So, we've all heard the phrase positive thinking, right? But is there any real hard science behind it? Well, the answer, as we're about to see, is a huge yes. And the evidence goes way deeper than you might think, right down to our immune cells and even our stress hormones.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to move past the cliches and look at a core scientific theory. Then we'll get into the actual biological proof. After that, we'll cover some really practical tools for rewiring your thoughts, and we'll finish up with a super important distinction about what healthy positivity actually is.
Let's get one thing straight right away. This isn't about just slapping a smile on your face and ignoring life's problems. Not at all. The science we're talking about is about approaching challenges in a more productive way, a way that actually has tangible, measurable benefits for our health.
A really key idea here is something called the broaden and build theory. It was developed by a researcher named Barbara Fredrickson, and what she argues is that positive emotions, things like joy, hope, gratitude, they do way more than just feel good in the moment. They literally change how our minds work, opening us up to new ideas and possibilities.
And this is where it gets super interesting when you see them side by side. Think about it. Negative emotions, like fear, they trigger our fight or flight response, right? They narrow our focus like a zoom lens so we can deal with an immediate threat. But positive emotions, they do the exact opposite. They broaden our perspective, like a wide-angle lens, making us more creative and curious, which helps us build up valuable skills and resources over time.
All right, so that's the theory, but what about the proof? Like actual tangible proof inside our own bodies. This is where that mind-body connection gets really fascinating, and we're going to start with the immune system.
This quote right here, wow. It's from a groundbreaking study out of Tel Aviv University, and it points to a direct link between the pleasure and reward system in our brain and how well our immune system works. It basically suggests we can consciously give our own immunity a boost.
So here's what they did. In the study, people who used positive mental strategies, literally just imagining good things happening, were able to activate a part of their brain's reward system. And get this, those people produced significantly more antibodies after getting a vaccine. I mean, that's not just a correlation, it's a direct causal link between your mindset and your immune response. Pretty incredible.
Okay, so that's our immune system. But what about something we all deal with, every single day? Stress. Turns out our mindset has a huge effect on how our bodies handle it.
Check this out. A study from Concordia University found that optimists have a much more stable response to cortisol, which is our main stress hormone. When faced with something stressful, pessimists' cortisol levels spiked and stayed high for a long time. But the optimists, they had a more protected response and recovered so much faster.
So, seeing how our mindset can literally protect us by managing our hormones, well, that brings up a really big question. If our thoughts have that much power, how can we actively shape them for the better? Luckily, there are proven ways to do exactly that.
One of the most effective methods is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's all built on this simple but incredibly powerful idea shown in the triangle here. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors are all connected. Change one, and you start to influence the others.
A key technique that comes from CBT is something called cognitive reframing. You can think of it like a 4-step mental workout. First, you just notice a negative thought. Then, you challenge it. You ask yourself, is this actually based on facts? Third, you come up with a more balanced, constructive alternative. And finally, you consciously make that shift in your perspective.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. Look at these examples. It's about consciously changing that internal script in your head. Instead of something catastrophic like, the rest of my day is a disaster, you reframe it to, this is just a setback. I can still have a good day. You're not ignoring the problem. You're just approaching it more constructively. And by doing that, you're not just changing your mood, you're potentially changing your body's stress response. Now hold on. We have to talk about something really important here. There is a huge difference between building a healthy mindset and falling into the trap of what's called toxic positivity, which is basically just suppressing any and all negative feelings.
Look at this comparison. The key difference is really empathy versus denial. Healthy positivity makes room for all of your emotions. It acknowledges reality, the good and the bad, while still looking for a constructive way forward. Toxic positivity, on the other hand, just slaps on a fake smile and says good vibes only, which can actually make you feel worse because it invalidates what you're really experiencing.
So let's just pull this all together. The science is crystal clear.
Our mindset isn't some fluffy woo-woo concept. It is a powerful tool that directly impacts our physical health, from boosting our immune system to managing our stress. And maybe the best part of all is that it's a tool we can all learn to use more effectively.
What all this research really shows us is that we have more control, more agency over our own well-being than we might think. It puts this incredibly powerful tool right in our hands. And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about.